Hey guys, welcome to day number 7 of the shoulder series. So as promised, today is kind of going to be about putting it all together. I'm going to give you a couple tips to think about when doing any pressing, things that a lot of the times trainers and clinicians and people give cues for, and maybe they're doing the wrong thing, things like that. We're going to talk about a couple modifications you can make so you can continue training pressing or overhead work. That is a way that's not going to continually aggravate if you have any symptoms or nagging little issues. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about programming, because you can have a great shoulder that works really nice, but you need to make sure we have proper programming when it comes to overhead work. So with that being said, the first couple things we want to talk about are when you're actually doing your pressing. I want you to think about that breath and that core stabilization. We just talked about that yesterday, but every time you press, it's what you should be doing as well. So you should have yourself a nice stable base, kind of grip the ground, squeeze your butt. You should sniff in, kind of get everything nice and tight. And then as you go to press, keep that position and keep everything nice and tight. When you go up and down, think about squeezing your butt together like there is a piece of paper and you don't want anybody taking it out in between your butt cheeks. That breath and that pressure should stay the whole time. And the last thing that I want you to think about, that we tend to cue way too much, and this kind of is the opposite of what the shoulder blade should be doing. As you go to press overhead, I've already talked about this, but your shoulder blade needs to rotate up. So if these are the shoulder blades on my back, they need to rotate up to keep good space in between the shoulder joint here. A lot of times trainers and clinicians and people who have no idea what they're doing tell people to keep their shoulder blades down and back. If I do that as I'm pressing, I literally cannot go up anymore, and I'm just kind of impinging my shoulder blade or my shoulder joint. So let your shoulder blades move up. That's what they're supposed to do. They should kind of come out. You should actually see them stuck on the side when you're going up. So those are a few things to keep in mind as you are pressing. The second thing I want to talk about is a couple of modifications that we can use. So if you are somebody who feels pinching in your shoulder, either in the front or the back, you have a little bit of back pain with any shoulder movements, but you still want to train pressing, especially pressing overhead, you totally still can. You just need to modify it. One of my favorite exercises for pressing overhead in a modified position is actually called the landmine press. So I have it set up a little weird today, but this is perfect if you don't have the actual landmine. You can just grab a couple of weight plates, a barbell, and I'm going to show you on my knee. You can do this standing as well. I just like the knee position, and it helps me feel this, but this is going to allow you to press in the range of motion that you have of your shoulder. So this is great for people who, like I said, have issues or just don't have full shoulder flexion yet, because you're still working on the exercises we showed you in days 1 through 6. So you're going to get this in position here. You're going to squeeze. One of the other things we don't do a lot of times with pressing is a concept called irradiate. So while you should be squeezing your butt, having a tight core, you need to think about squeezing the barbell or the kettlebell, whatever you're pressing overhead, as hard as you can. Squeeze harder than that, you're gonna feel it go into your forearm, all the way up to your shoulder, and now you have a nice, stable, strong shoulder, rather than just kind of hanging out and pressing like this and hanging out on a lot of your ligaments or just not getting your full strength. So from here, tight core, don't let any of that energy leak, press up overhead, and come back down. Notice how this is an angle. That kind of allows you to not need full shoulder flexion, especially if you have a lack of that range of motion, or if you don't have good capsular range of motion yet either. So that's one modification. The other thing that I want to talk about is having an asymmetry. So that's difference from side to side. I am somebody who has crazy asymmetries because my spine's really crooked. I know that, so I rarely press overhead. Until I have full symmetrical ranges of motion and control, I probably won't press overhead with a barbell, because the barbell is a straight path. It will force you to go in that movement. That metal is way stronger than your joints are, and you probably won't even realize it. Half the time, if people have a lot of pinching on one side versus the other, or irritation, the best thing you can do is train asymmetrically. What that means, or unilaterally I should say, what that means is taking a kettlebell or a dumbbell on one side, or doing a press like I showed you, the landmine press, just doing one-sided pressing. so that your shoulder can go in the range of motion it needs to, and you're not forcing the other shoulder to compensate for it, if that makes sense. So those are two things that you can modify, two modifications that you can use while you are working on your shoulder and improving shoulder range of motion, mobility, strength, all those things. The last thing we're going to talk about is programming. So this is also something that maybe somebody has all these things they're working on, but one of the most simple things and also most overlooked things is how are you programming? And I see this with a lot of people who are working on bodybuilding or just kind of do the classic machine work and a lot of just building muscle on their upper body, is we love pressing. Everybody loves bench day, everybody loves pressing, we press a ton. But the thing is, those muscles kind of get overdeveloped, and we should actually have a pretty good ratio from our front to our pulling motions. That's everything in the back of our shoulders. That's a huge thing that we neglect. Nobody likes pulling as much. Everybody loves pushing, but we need to pull more than we actually push. We should have about a 3-to-2 ratio for volume and intensity and strength of back muscles. So if your training looks like a lot of pressing, you don't have a lot of pull-ups or rowing or any type of pulling motion, any type of humeral abduction, things like that are working on all those back muscles, it may be time to restructure your programming or find somebody who understands that a little bit better, because most coaches don't either. So again, any pulling motion, and you need to have those pulling motions in different planes of motion or I'll just demonstrate. So you need to have pull-ups, which are more of a vertical motion, versus a regular TRX row, which is a little more horizontal, or a bent over row, which is a little more horizontal. And then you can do high pulls as well. All those things are going to be good for you to develop that pulling strength in every kind of position. That way you're developing all the muscles in the back as well. So all of those things are things we need to consider when programming or working on overhead mobility or just shoulder health in general. Hopefully all of that helps you, or you can take a piece or a lot of it or all of it and kind of start implementing this in your programming, and or making sure that you find a coach who really understands anatomy, how the joints work and function, so that they can program and instruct you and coach you properly. With that being said, that is everything we have for you for the shoulder series. Thank you for sticking with us for these 7 days. Remember, this type of stuff that we sent to you, working on flexibility, working on end range strengthening, those things don't happen overnight, ever. Rarely ever. I don't think I've ever seen it happen. So you need to work on one and master it before we start working on all the others. They are a stepwise fashion, again, and they're gonna take time. Of course, we sent these in a day after day series for you, but you'll have access to them so that you can work on them as you master the step before. So with that being said, if you loved this, we would love to hear about it. Tomorrow, we are going to actually send you out a survey, and we just want all of your feedback. So the whole point of us doing this is to help you and to give you the knowledge you need to just be as strong and as badass as you possibly can be when it comes to the gym, but also keep your joints healthy so that you can keep going to the gym for years and decades down the road, which is the whole point of being able to go into the gym, is being able to do it for a lifetime. So with that being said, we want to create things that really help you, and we just really value your feedback because you are the reason we do this. So if you could take a couple minutes, fill out the survey, send it back to us, let us know what you think. We would appreciate it so much. And with that being said, thank you so much, and we will talk to you tomorrow.